Hey, how's it going? Hey, Ronin Man here. Down at Pattaya Beach. Just spent the last 5 nights in the beach down there. It was absolutely beautiful. I couldn't believe it because Pattaya it's always been a bit of a dump. It's always been too touristy and just dirty. In the old days, there were some bad times. I don't know if you remember the 70s in New York, but there was some high crime times, right, where you did not want to be walking around New York at night. Well, Pattaya Beach was kind of like that. It wasn't dangerous, but it was just so dirty, But the government has done a great job cleaning it up, and you will be shocked. Even if you haven't been there in, say, 6 months, when you go to Pattaya Beach again, it is, amazing what they've done. I could not believe it myself. Had a great time. Had an absolutely great weekend. Okay, so today I want to talk about, and on the weekend, I spent some time with a friend of mine, and it was kind of funny because turns out he's a fan of Ronin Man, which I didn't even know. And that was very, very interesting. So anyway, we talked about stuff, and he was honest with me about his situation. And I met another couple other guys, and everybody was, it dawned on me that it was kind of a similar topic, and that is men after breakups, how women control men after breakups, or maybe how men are controlled after breakups. So regardless of whether women do it, the difficulty men have and how that influences a man's life. So whether you're, obviously you might not be in any kind of position of breaking up now, but understanding your life is important. Understanding your own mental state, the way that you work as a man, it's so important. And many men never dive deep into their own psyche to understand why they do things. And the reason why it's so important is because when you understand yourself, you can make better decisions for the future. And most men, they just brush it off. Men have a very difficult time after breakups. And I have never seen a video, I've never read a book about the difference between men and women. And when it comes to after breakups, and I'm telling you, it is very, very different scene. Very, very different scene. Now, I'm going to say that different men have different issues. It depends on how long you're with somebody. There's a lot of different factors. There's so much information here that I'm just going to spout off stuff. Some stuff is contradictory, I'm going to say. And that's for a reason. That's because sometimes both sides are true. They're true 1 minute, and the next minute something else is like, oh, shit, So you have to be able to deal with this stuff. And a lot of guys, they want black and white, they want simple, they want boom, But that's, unfortunately, when you're dealing with this stuff, you're dealing with your deepest subconscious brain, your mind. You're dealing with your most complex, I would say the sexual attraction and survival and reproduction. These are the most innate things in men, and they're incredibly complex. They're just incredibly complex. Just when you think you understand them, there's something else that, it's not that it upends your old information, but it just leads you into new caverns and new total understandings. It's almost like different levels of caves. It's like you found a bunch of caves underneath the city, and then you realize, oh my God, there's caves underneath the caves, holy shit, and it's how deep can you go in your mind, right? So I'm going to talk about my own experience and also other guys' experience, because I think men are actually quite different on this one. And the reason why it's important to know that is because as you age, I would have to say every decade, you kind of become a different man. I know that might sound like, wow, no. But if you look back at your life, I personally, this is my feeling, is that I'm actually a different man than I was in my 20s. I really feel like I have really fundamentally changed. Like a lot of things that I thought, or mindsets, or I would say parts of my personality that I thought were absolutely set in stone. I had absolutely figured out life at that age. And it's not one of these things where you get wiser. I'm not talking about that. Where you learn things as you get older. I'm talking about actually having different preferences and being different. So that's going to affect all this stuff. Okay, it's going to definitely affect all this stuff, and you would be amazed at how. And as you listen to this episode, you're going to start thinking about your own life, and you'll be amazed at how many men are controlled almost like a robot after the breakup. Okay, this is not, no one talks about after the breakup. And I'm talking 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, indefinite, basically infinity for many men. And I don't mean completely controlled. I'm not talking about like a robot, but I'm talking about things that are significant enough that you want to at least be able to, I want to map it out so you can say, wait a second, okay, here's what's going on with me. And also you'll be able to understand your friends better and other men better. So that's my goal of this episode. Pretty big goals, and I think you'll find it quite interesting. I'm going to just throw stuff out as it comes to my mind because there's actually there's so many different ways to look at this one. I'll start out with myself when I was, and this is a breakup of a first love. Okay, love, if you watch any kind of fucking video, movie, read any books, this is one aspect, one way to look at it that I've thought about a lot. The original Romeo and Juliet movie. That movie is always popular. Every single generation, it's always popular. And in that story, it's a very simple story. The couple obviously are in love. Everything's against them, can't be together, and again. Love stories, and here's one mistake men make. They think love stories are for women. You forget that we're involved. Half of that love story is us. We're involved in every love story. Men are half of, like the Mao Zedong said, women hold up half the sky. Well, people forget that men hold up half the sky in these love stories. And it's like embarrassing, right? Because guys don't want to think about this stuff. Or they enjoy it, but they are uncomfortable with it or something. It's difficult for us. Men, this is not something that we are like it doesn't come with ease. It's not, like move through the world with ease. This is not one of those things. Men are not comfortable with this whole fucking thing. And when it's done, they almost want to bury it or something, And you see guys, obviously getting drunk afterwards and trying to forget, right? But this trying to forget something doesn't make it go away. And that's the problem. That some things actually are like that. I don't want to say like it doesn't work. Some things actually it's good just to get your mind off and get on to something else, right? And there's obviously there's a time and a place for everything. But I'm going to talk about first love, okay? So, back to Romeo and Juliet. So one of the key things that no one really talks about, and then I think this is something that's very fucking dishonest in society, is I'm actually friends with the original Juliet in Romeo and Juliet, Olivia Hussey. She was a famous actress back in the day. Long story. I met her in Hong Kong back in 1989, and we became friends. And we're still friends today, her and her dad. And it was interesting because I had never really thought about Romeo and Juliet. And she was at that time, she was quite famous. She was like really famous, actually. And a lot of older people, she was past her prime already as far as an actress, but still she had power, man. The old days of media was different than the internet. Man, it was different. God, it was so different. It's almost hard to imagine that life has changed so much. But anyway, these old stars, and she was one of those old stars, had a lot of power in the world. Like she would just literally, I'd go with her, walk into a jewelry store, and she would just ask to see a bunch of expensive jewelry, and they would literally put it on her, and then she would walk out. That's it. She wouldn't pay, and the manager would thank her. I'm serious. I was with her. She would literally just say, "Oh, and then the owner of the shop would say, "Wow, you look like Olivia Hussey," and then she would have a big smile on her face. She said, "A lot of people say that." But the manager knew. He knew it was Olivia Hussey, and then he would let her go because the reason why is because he wanted her to wear the clothes and get a picture taken, and then he could say, "Look, this is my clothes. These are my clothes. That's my jewelry, and this famous actress is wearing it." So when you read about an actress or an actor getting arrested for shoplifting, if you know actors and actresses, if you know Hollywood, you'll realize that a lot of times it's actually not true, because this is a tradition, is that the makers of goods, they want these famous people to take their stuff. They want them to wear it. Like they don't even ask for money. Like, please wear this, And that's like a common thing. So when you see actresses and actors, there was some famous actress, I can't remember her name, but they arrested her for shoplifting. And I'm almost 100% sure that she probably didn't shoplift. Actually, this woman, it was a shop owner who didn't know the way the things work in Hollywood, and she paid the price. Right? She paid the price. I know it's very strange, but it's like one little thing that's interesting about life is that really, really famous people don't have to pay for stuff, and the reason is because companies want to market. It's almost like you have say you have a big advertising campaign, and you get some famous actor to wear your clothes. This is the same kind of thing, except on a smaller scale. Basically please take my stuff. Here, let's get a picture, right? So anyway, she was, Olivia Hussey, when she came from Argentina, she was 15 years old. And actually, she was probably younger, actually. What am I saying? She was 15 when she was in Romeo and Juliet. And that's the part I was going to talk about, is that real love, in my opinion, you only really have one love story in your life. And there's so much fake stuff as you get older, and it's usually around 15 years old. It's like 15 to maybe 17. That is when your real love happens. And that is the way we are, evolutionary wise. I know now the laws are different, everything's different, but this is the way we're programmed, and you can see this all across the world. This is when, and that's why Juliet and Romeo went, basically they were completely insane with each other. That's when the estrogen is just boiling in the women, the testosterone is just, it's just gushing through the veins of the man, and things get crazy, and people, essentially, and this is the way that evolution designed us, to make children and to bond. And that bond, that love story, is extremely volatile. Now we've learned how to kind of limit these natural desires in humans, but I like natural desires. I think they're very good. I think I think that masking your true self or taming your true desires is personally, I think it's not a great idea. I think it's stupid. Actually, it's never been a good idea. It's not a fucking good idea. I think of it more as like surfing. It's like the big wave comes, right? You don't want the wave, you don't want to drown, right? And you catch an outsider or whatever surfing, and then it's like fucking sketchy, man. It's like huge, right? You're dropping in, it's just like fucking, you're trying to time everything, you're trying to like check out the angle and like how the wave is breaking, and you're just like trying to keep right ahead of it, but in the middle of the fucking, you want to do the things that you want to do, like off the lips and back, cutbacks and floaters and shit. And you got to be right in the pocket, right in the pocket, in the vortex of power. And it's that delicate, incredibly fast, hundredths of a second, split second timing, excitement, and being right in that right space, right? And I think that's what life is. And it's riding that bitch, It's like, it's just riding that fucking bitch. It's taking it on. It's being that moment. And that is what we're talking about here. And we're talking about, we're talking about sketchy stuff, man. Fucking sketchy stuff. This is where, people forget how exciting life is, This stuff is dangerous, man. This stuff, real life is fucking dangerous, man. You can sit there and you can numb yourself out and live a shitty life, right? Just an average, mediocre life. But that's not fucking living, by the way. That ain't fucking living. That's not what you were designed for as a man. No fucking way. I'm serious here. I'm fucking serious. You were not designed for that. This is shit that just kills your testosterone. It kills your fucking life. Kills your zest. Kills your humor. It kills the good chemicals in your brain. So the job is that you take the bitch on, right? And it's not easy. It ain't fucking easy. I'm not saying that. It's not predictable either, man. Life ain't predictable, And people sometimes they'll say when I talk about myself, the things I do, like once a year I like to do things that are quite dangerous to get my testosterone up, and it's like, I shouldn't say I like to. I allow myself to do things. I allow life to grab me, right? But I limit it, right? Just like I choose the wave, right? But anyway, And they'll say, well, that's dangerous. You could die or whatever. It's like, yeah, that's the fucking point. That's the fucking point, is that life is real and that life is exciting, and that it's like you have to be in the right timing, and like you can't numb yourself out, right? So anyway, so back to these real fucking, this fire in your life. You're going to have this, once in your life, this just almost nuclear explosion of chemicals in your brain. And this is what fucks up kids who are on those antidepressants. I'm very, very anti-antidepressants. Not once you're on them, you're fucked. I mean, it's just like, it's a really hard thing. That's a different thing once you're on them. But like, I really think kids should not be given these fucking, and adults too. I don't take anything, and I've seen zombies fucking on these pills. I think that's one of the main reasons why you see so many people getting angry and not having empathy for other humans, whether it's shootings, things like that, is they lose touch with humanity, because it starts with numbing, it starts with ignoring, and then it gets more serious, where they're pushing it down, right, with drugs, things to keep those natural desires down, and those natural fears, anger, love, fucking just, desire, these type of things, these type of, this type of waves, basically, you have to ride, right? Okay? You want to ride these fucking waves. You want to express yourself. You want to fucking, really, I'm serious too. And life will be exciting. And if you feel like life is boring, or it's not, there's no challenges, you're missing this part. And once you get back into the mindset, okay, of living, they are there for you now, where you are today. So life is there. Don't worry. It's just right there. If you've been ignoring it for a long time, it doesn't matter. It's still there. The challenges are there till the moment you die. The excitement that I'm talking about, right? The challenges, the overcoming, all this shit, it's all waiting for you. So anyway, so let's go back to little digress, but very good digression. Okay, so basically your real love is only when you're 15, right? 16, 17, right? That's age. So anyway, so that's one thing society, they don't like that. See, society doesn't want that, right? Parents don't want that. Parents don't want their kids having these strong emotions. Well, guess fucking what? It doesn't matter. That's the way it is, right? And that's the way life is. So when you, as another digression, one thing that's just driving me crazy, I'd love to hear what you guys think, is life, okay, it's not something you can force. Okay, so let me think. How can I put this? So I was watching some fucking old person, okay, and I say myself, whatever, anybody who's fucking older, and they were like celebrating their fucking birthday, okay? Like they were like 50 years old, and it was their birthday week. And they're like, oh, it's my birthday this week. And I was like, I don't know what it was. I just all of a sudden it clicked in my mind. I thought, birthdays, I don't even have birthdays anymore. Like, don't tell me happy birthday. Like, it's fine. And there's no fucking, it's like birthdays are for kids, man. That's when you have birthdays. You remember when you were a little kid and like you're so excited about your fucking birthday? That's what it's supposed to be like. It's a time when you believe in Santa Claus and shit like that. That's when your birthdays are fucking exciting, right? They're really exciting. And that is when you have birthdays. Once you get over, let's say 22, there's no birthdays. I mean, you have, I would have to say milestones, you have definitely like life is interesting, but you have to, I think, let that shit go, man. You know, fucking birthday and then birthday week. It's my freaking birthday week. What the fuck is wrong with people, man? And it's like the same thing with older people getting married. It's such a crock of shit. As soon as you're like 40, like the divorce rate is like, it's 80% or something, for like second marriages and third marriages. Marriage is like more like fucking Romeo and Juliet, like maybe one time you're going to fall in love, you're going to fucking get married, have kids. That's the way the human is designed. Now, I'm not saying it works that way always in society today. Like I said, like you guys know, like sometimes you can't do what is natural, right? Yeah, but you have to understand that is natural. Understanding yourself, understanding and accepting. And there are some times when you just can't do what's natural. It's just not possible, right? If you're locked in prison, you can't go in the forest, It's just the way it is. You have to learn other ways. Now, you can cope, There's ways to cope in life. Coping is not the best, but sometimes it's the only option. and you can enjoy other things, right? You can't do the natural. So going off and back and back and back and off and this. Okay, so let's talk about myself. When I was 18, when I got broken up with, when I was 19 actually, I met this girl when I was 15. Her name was Judy, and we both met through a friend. He was our youth minister, and this was his sister. And I met her, and I don't know what it was. Just something about her. I think it was more like myself, actually. I was ready to fall in love at that age. I was 15. I was ready to fall in love. Like, it wasn't that. I mean, she was a good girl. Actually, she's turned out to be a good girl over life. It's amazing, actually, looking back. I still know her, and she has 5 kids, and she's very happy, and blah blah blah. A very different life than I live, that's for sure. But I wish her the best. She was always nice to me. So Judy, what happened was we met through church essentially, and then as we went into college together, she became more religious. And I went the other way, where I said, I don't believe this anymore. And, I don't know what it was, in specific biology class or something in my mind. I just thought, nope. And she went the other way. She's like, we got to get more. She wanted to be a missionary. She wanted to go to Asia as a missionary. And she wanted to have Bible studies all the time. And she wanted to go that direction. And I did not. In fact, I was going the exact opposite direction. And so she said to me, look, basically, I love you and I want to, basically be together. But the only way we can do this long term is she kind of brought it up. She said, look, if you basically get more religious, essentially, and I was like, oh man, it was the toughest decision of my life. I've always felt like, okay, emotionally as a man, I always felt like she left me. That was how I always felt. I felt like she dumped me. Because she didn't dump me, right? I dumped her, really, because she gave me an ultimatum. And the ultimatum was something totally unacceptable to me, because I was crazy in love with her. I mean, I'm serious. This is like the one girl, like true fucking love. Like, I was so in love with this chick. And I saw my future with her, right? At 15, 16, 17, 18. By now I'm 19. But at the same time, I could not compromise my life. I could not take a trajectory of believing something that I don't believe anymore. Because belief is not something you can force, okay? You can't force your preferences. You can't force your beliefs. And looking back, I'm quite proud of myself, because it was really difficult for me, man. I'm telling you. It was like, it would have been easy for me to say to her, okay, kind of thinking like I should do that anyway. I should believe in this. Anyway, like that's the right way to be. And plus I can marry this girl I love and all that. But I just thought, you know what? I cannot be fake. I cannot live a fake life. Even if it was the right thing to do. Even if it was true. I don't believe it. And that's the way my brain is. Like you can't make yourself believe something. It is literally impossible to make yourself believe something. Belief, something that you believe, it comes from the facts, it comes from the information in your mind. And this is one of the most inconvenient things in life, is that you can't make yourself love somebody, and you can't make yourself believe something. You can't make yourself like a song. You can't make yourself like a situation. And so this is where you have to be in touch with yourself. And I was luckily in touch with myself. And I say luckily because it led me on a different path in life. Leaving Judy Jones, going off without her, essentially leaving the church, because all my friends turned on me when I left the church. It was very cold and sad. I was very sad, actually, at 19. And, but that was the path, man. That was the path for me. I know it wasn't easy. Her family was actually very nice. And she actually turned out to be like I said, she turned out to be a great mom. Very loyal, stays with the guy, 5 kids. They've actually done well in life. The kids are healthy. I see her pictures all the time, and I'm like, that's cool. I really hope the best for her. She was good to me. And that's the thing about life, is that I had good experiences and with women and bad experiences. So we're going to talk about everything. Again, this is talking about my first fucking love. But now we get into the difficulty of after that. So even though the gauntlet was given to me, and I chose not to take the gauntlet, and I went into a tailspin. It's something I could never explain to anybody else. It was the darkest time in my life, without a doubt. And at the time, it was overwhelming. I was 19. I was just like, fuck. I just like did not know what I was going to do with my life. I was absolutely beside myself. I mean, I started drinking. Well, everybody drinks at 19, right? I was in a fraternity. Everybody was fucking drinking. I was drinking more. I was so sad that I was just like drinking more. And I ended up in AA at 22, right? And getting sober, which was a good thing, actually. So the whole thing was good, but it was rough and tumble good. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't easy good. It was fucking real life good. So real life fucking progress good. That kind of good. And that is not easy. That's life and death. That's the kind of shit we're talking about. It was very difficult for me. I mean, I was in so much pain. I was racing cars. I was drunk. It was really painful. I could not stop thinking about her, even though I had been the one who had said, no, I'm not going to fake my life. I can't do that. But still, I was torn apart. And part of me at the time, I felt like a mind meme, okay, religion had torn us apart. Like that had been a true human bond that Judy and I had, And I think from her side too. And I could tell you stories about afterwards. I think she is absolutely still in love with me. And, and that is pretty amazing. There was a real human bond. Something got in the way, and that was different beliefs, different lifestyles, changing, and all that. But anyway, that created the man I am. It put me on a path. Because I was on the path to getting married, guys. At 15 to 19, that was it. I was the kind of guy when I was 15, even though I had tons of girls, girls always liked me. It was one of the hardest things is to stay true to Judy, because I had girls throwing themselves at me in college. And sometimes successfully, it was like, you could be in love when you're 15 and 17, and it's like, still, some girl like that's super hot throws herself at you, you just can't, there's no way you can say no, right? It was very difficult. I was like trying my best, I was like, it was so hard. I was like, oh fuck, I can't be, I was just getting torn apart. Anyway, it was all part of the fucking process, right? And it's like just eating shit on a big wave, just fucking in the white water, right? And struggling with your desires and what you're wanting to do, and just the chemicals in your fucking body, and oh my god, and so what was I going to say? Okay, so the pain was incredible. So I have sympathy for you guys, and they're talking about one guy in particular who is going through that first love breakup. This is the hardest. This was personally for me the most difficult thing in my life. I got to say that. It's true. It was the most difficult thing. There was nothing similar to that, because it was something it was a storm in myself. It was a fucking perfect storm. There's no really words to express the difficulty, the tumultuous feelings I had, the incredible washing machine that I was in for so long. And it was, I would say, 3 years. It was 19 to 21, and was really the worst time. And it led me to some very bad decisions. I was just hanging on. Like, looking back, I'm glad I survived that period, to be honest. It was not easy. And it also drove me into recovery. It drove me into changing my life, which was fucking awesome, which was a huge thing for me. It really changed my life. So it sped up my process, and it put me in serious danger. But at the same time, I had the internal, like will to live, will to succeed, where I was like, you throw me into something difficult, and I'm going to fucking make it in the end. That is me. I'm going to, Ronin man, and I'm serious, I'm going to make it every fucking time. The harder it is, it's not going to be fun. I'm not going to say I'm going to enjoy it, but I am going to fucking survive and come through it with stronger and better. And that is the way it is, always with me. And that is the way I always am. And I will not fucking give up Not until the day I draw my last breath. And that is the way I am. Period. And that comes from childhood stuff. Okay? Is I will not fucking be cowed. I will not be destroyed. I will always come back. No matter what happens, that is the way I am. And it's one of my fundamental defining things in myself when I look back on my life. And I have many, many stories I could tell you where I was tested. My mettle was really tested. And it's funny, like looking back, I'm like, fuck, you have a will to survive and succeed and live. It's not beautiful, but man, it is, in a sense, it's quite beautiful actually looking back. It's like, holy shit, what a trip this life is. That's all I can say. So anyway, I have sympathy for you in that situation. Okay, what advice do I have? That first love breakup. I'm talking, like I said, one particular guy, but every man goes through this, and you might have this lingering in your mind, this first love pain. I don't think there's anything that can really help. It's so painful. It's so complex. It's so natural. It's this bonding, this desire to bond is so innate in man. There's this desire, I don't know what it is, desire to have children, I don't know what it is, but there's something in there that no logic can really touch. There's nothing you can, try everything, right? Obviously. I can say that it ends and it doesn't last forever. The washing machine period, where you're just like, you're in the not the spin cycle, but when the machine's just sloshing you around, and that period ends. So that is a good thing. Is like one thing about real pain. This has been something that really helped me. I heard in AA, but it's really great. It's really just always helped me. No matter what pain you're in, here's what I say. Is I was really in a lot of pain one time, and I went to this guy, and he said to me, I said, oh man, I'm in so much pain. And the guy was cool. He said, look, I see, I understand. He goes, what would you say? Are you in the beginning of the pain? Are you in the middle of the pain? Or are you towards the end of the pain? And it was such a great question, because I thought to myself, am I in the beginning, the middle, or the end? And I said, I think I'm past the middle, and I'm coming towards the end period. And he said, great. He didn't tell me where I was. He didn't tell me what to do. But just knowing that it wasn't going to last forever, that pain has a cycle. You can't be in pain for like the rest of your life, which is what it feels like. Just, are you in the beginning or the middle or the end? Just that alone was so it was soothing for me. And so many times in my life, whenever I have something really hard happen, I always think to myself, wait a second, am I in the beginning? Or the beginning of the beginning? Or almost to the middle? Or I'm just on the middle? Or I'm just past the middle? Or am I like grinding through most of the middle towards the end? Or am I almost at the end? Where am I? On a scale of 1 to 1,000,000, right? Break it down. Like, where am I? And that always helps me, because then I think, wow, I've already gone through a lot, And then you think, well, fuck, what's the worst part? Probably the beginning, right? I made it through that, right? Okay. It's like my back, right? I got through that first 2 days, right? And then it got easier, right? It never becomes super easy, but you realize, oh, fucking hey, this is getting better, man. God damn it, and that will give you your own motivation. So sometimes it's not even about how, or what should I do. It's just knowing it's not going to last forever. That is a very powerful thing, actually. No matter how bad it is, no matter what you do with it, just knowing it's not going to last forever. You just wait it out. It's going to fucking end, It's like, okay, it's not going to go on forever, man. Period. And also, I would add in there one other thing, because I don't have any specific advice. I could tell you, have friends. I could tell you, go out. I could tell you, meet other girls. I could tell you, try different things, move countries. Moving countries is one of the best things you can do, because it gets your mind onto other things. Like say, get a job, whatever, if you say you're 19 and you're going through this, get a job teaching English in another country, in Taiwan or something, that's a good way to work on it. None of these things solve the problem, but they can distract you and make it better. They can. And they can give you new things to work on, and there can be progress and positive things coming out of that. But in the end, you just have to go through it. So even if you move to Taiwan, you're still going to be, you'll have all these new things, you'll have all these new opportunities, you're going to be eating new food, seeing new things, smelling new things, going to new places, away from the old people, with the new people, things that won't remind you of her and things like that. All these are good things. But in the end, the pain is there, right? The pain is there. And also the the distractions are there if you want them. If you want to get drunk every night in Taiwan and waste the opportunity and just sit there as a mess, you can do that every night if you want, right? So I'm not going to say there's any specifics, but there are a lot of things that you can do that might make it better. They might help. Maybe joining the Marines, whatever, trying something new, getting the fuck out of there. That helps. That does help, but it doesn't cure it. So a part of it is beginning, middle, end. Where are you? And just saying, hey, man, I'm human. Look in the mirror. Just say, look, I am a fucking human being. Welcome to the human race. This is something that people go through. And whenever you go through something really difficult, okay, here's what you want to do, is you want to realize that you're not the only one. And this is very important. Get off your self-centered fucking ass and say, you know what? Everybody around me, my dad, other men have gone through this situation because this is the way life is. And you realize, damn, life isn't easy for people. You know what I mean? It's not just you. Other guys have been through this. And you can talk to them about it. Some guys will open up, and they'll tell you what their experience was. And that can help. Sometimes old men are great, Hey, sometimes old men are great because they can tell you, what they went through, their own experiences. And it's a beautiful thing. It can be. Older men experience. Oh man, sometimes old men are great, Like for example, let's say you're waiting somewhere, right? You're sitting there waiting for a store to open, or you're waiting for something, right? And there's an old man sitting next to it. The old men, especially since Google came out, they don't get asked any questions anymore. And that's what old men love. Old men love sharing their own experience with younger men. They do. Men do. Not every day, not every minute, depending on the guy and all this other stuff. But all that aside, men love to give and share. And if you know that, and if you don't demand it, but if you just ask older guys, just say, hey, look, man, this is where you got to be honest. Let's say you're 19, right? I'm talking to a specific guy, right? And say, look, come up to older guys and say, look, just random guy in a fucking bank, and just say, this might sound like really fucking weird, but my friend told me I should talk to older guys about this. I'm like breaking up with my first love and I'm fucking going insane. Do you have any advice? Did you ever go through this? What happened? And now some people are not going to give good advice. Some guys are not very introspective and they can't really see themselves. But that can teach you something too. See, everybody can teach you something. That's, some people will teach you what not to do in life. Like they might say, oh, just forget about it, just go out and fucking this. And then you say, well, how did that work out for you? Did you ever, regret it? Say, oh yeah, after that I was all fucked up, got locked up, they'll tell you this. And then you'll be like, okay, that didn't really work actually. Don't say anything, of course, but you might say, it doesn't sound like that worked out so well for the guy. But anyway, he got through it somehow, so that's better than me. I'm still going through it. So, anyway, you can learn something. And you never know. Some older guys, they might tell you some wisdom. I tell you one thing I really one of the best advice I ever got was doing this. There was a guy named Whitey. Dude was fucking all tan. He had fucking gold chains. He had a red Mercedes convertible. We're talking back in 1987. And I liked Whitey. He was a fucking cool guy. Chicks liked Whitey. He was like 75. And we were in his Mercedes driving somewhere, top down, sunny day, Southern California. And I asked him, I said, I want to get married. I was talking about that girl. Yeah, I was already past her, but I was still thinking about her. And it was now I was probably 22. Okay, so she broke. Yeah, that was about 3 years of pain for me. So 19 to 22, basically. So this was the very end of the pain. It wasn't the end of my thinking about her forever, but it was the end of the pain. And Whitey said something very interesting. No, I was actually talking about a new girl. Sorry. Yeah, I was talking about a new girl. And I said I wanted to get married. And I think it was a Swedish girl. Yeah. And Whitey said, is she happy? He just looked at me, super serious. We're like at a red light. And he looks at me. He goes, is she happy? And I looked, and I didn't answer. But she actually was not happy. She was not a very happy person. Like, he asked me black and white, straight up man question. And my internal answered it, even though no words came out of my mouth, is that she was not a happy person. And I still know who she is today. She's a very unhappy person. He was absolutely right. He'd never met her, but just his question was so spot on. He said, because if she's not happy, he goes, you would never make her happy. That's all he said. That was the deepest thing he ever said. Oh, one of the deepest things an old man ever said to me. Is she happy? He said, because you can only make her happy short term. Long term, if she's not happy, there's nothing. You know what I mean? Like, it's don't even think about it. Like, don't enter into any relationship with an unhappy person who's not happy in themselves. Man, that was great advice. I never heard it from anybody else. And it was just dead fucking simple, right? It was just man up. What is the truth here? What is really going on? And I had to say to myself, fuck, this chick is not happy. And I didn't want to say that, actually, at the moment. Because I wanted to fucking, I don't know, whatever I was thinking at the time. So anyway, first love, that's about all I can say about that. Next thing. Met another guy this weekend. I met a guy this weekend, like I said. And he was all fucked up, okay? He was like, he was not sure what he was doing. He didn't know. Like, he asked me all these questions that were unrelated. And I was confused. Because you know me, I'm always trying to like solve problems and figure things out. So he was saying things and they weren't fucking making sense. And his shoulders were slumping and he was looking down at the ground. And he was saying words like he feels guilty about dating chicks. He's worried about, is he a sex addict? He was trying to decide what he should do with his life. He had just quit his job and he was in Pattaya for this event that I was at, and he was like not sure what he was going to do next, where he was going to go. Everything was confusing to him. He was like beating himself up. He was obviously down. And now from the outside, this guy was a very handsome guy. This dude from Australia, fucking very handsome dude, very alpha looking dude. He was from like a sheep farming area outside of Sydney, like 4 hours out of Sydney. And he was telling me this stuff, and he's a professional sheep shearer. So like that's a rough and tumble business. That's a tough business. It's a man's business. And he's like, so physically he had it going on, right? And also he had everything. Like he had the smile. He had like things that you would think you would want or would make you invulnerable if you don't have them. Like things that guys like want to have and things that girls like. The guy's got it, right? He's got it going on. Confidence. He's got a swagger. But he was totally broken down. Like at this moment, he didn't look like this. I've seen him before where he's like that, but this moment he was all in a morass of shit, like looking down, and he wasn't crying or anything, but he was just like, he was all confused, and he was asking me these questions, and I could not figure it out, and I made a Ronin Man about it, but I never uploaded it because I had a feeling it wasn't done yet. So anyway, the next day I met him again, and we started talking. And I was like, okay, I got to figure this out. What the fuck is going on with this guy? And I still couldn't figure it out. I think it was because he was not able to be honest and verbalize it yet. Finally, we figured it out. Here was the deal, is that he had broken up with this girl 2 years ago, okay? And she was still controlling him by remote control. So it was almost like she had like an electric shock dog collar on him. And wherever he went, it would just shock him, and it would keep him in line. Like those electronic fences for dogs, where they go outside the fence and it shocks them because it has a GPS thing, or whatever, and it keeps the dog inside an invisible fence area, right? He had this kind of dog collar on without even knowing it. His girlfriend was controlling him, and I realized it. Once I realized that, I said, "Wait a second. When did you break up with this girl?" He said 2 years ago. I said 2 fucking years. I mean, look, I was like, look at you, man. He was in Asia. I mean, chicks, this guy, I mean, the outside, no problem, right? But the problem is that he was still being controlled by this woman 2 years after the breakup. And I said, did you guys have a relationship? I mean, like, is there anything going on here? No. He was with And here was the thing. As I asked him the questions, the reason why I described this guy so much in detail is because you might be like this with some things. Is you're unwilling to be honest. You're unwilling to open up. Okay? But you're being torn apart and you don't even know where to start about discussing or describing where you are. It takes time to dig in there, right? To dig in and find out what the fuck is actually going on inside yourself. That's where this guy was. And we were walking and talking on the beach. Some of the footage I'm using now on this was us walking and talking, actually. And finally, I was like, oh my God. I said, wait a second. So this woman is controlling you to this day. You're not fucking any girls, except for once in a while I'm feeling really guilty about it. Even though you don't have any relationship with her really, except for like SMSs, or not even SMSs because she's in another country. She's back in Australia. And so finally I said, dude, listen, his name was Andrew. I said, Andrew, listen, fuck, dude, like, I said, this thing is over. This fucking relationship is over. 2 years ago, man. You're not in a relationship with this girl. Like, wake the fuck up. You are not in a relationship with that girl. Clinton, I did not have sex with that woman. You're not in a relationship. And I said, not only that, is that this is the type of woman. There's certain type of women. They collect scalps of men. That's the best way to put it. Like, there was people in like wars, in wartime. I forgot who did it. I think the Mongolians did it. I know it was a thing with the Indians. That collecting scalps, was a big thing, right? It's like a sign. Who else did it? A lot of in Africa there was a lot of things like this where you're collecting a piece of the dead guy, your enemy that you killed, right? How many did you get, right? Very common in war, this type of thing. And these women, they collect scalps of men. And it's very easy for them because men have a more difficult time after a breakup. And it's very easy for an evil woman, for a controlling woman, to keep a man on the line, even though she knows she has no respect for him anymore. She has no use for him, but he might come in handy. He might fucking come in handy. She might need somebody to drive her somewhere. She might need someone to counsel her. She might need some money. She might need something. So keeping a bunch of scalps, it's essentially, let's say in this case, more like robot-controlled men, all of her exes, okay, they are her guard dogs. They are her protectors. All she has to do is once in a while throw them a bone, of like maybe talking a little sexual or whatever it is to titillate the guy, sending him a picture of a new dress, whatever it is that she knows. These type of scalp collecting, distance mind control collecting exes type of woman is very dangerous. Extremely dangerous, these women, because they're playing on something that's very natural in men. Men have a very difficult time after breakup. And like I said, I can leave some links in the comment section, but men just, they think better about their exes. That's the way we're built. Just like we have this like Romeo and Juliet love at a certain age. After a breakup, at any age, men think better of their exes than women do. A lot better. And it's part of our nature. When we bond long term. It's not easy for a man to bond. Okay, women get into relationships easy, okay, quickly, and then they get out of them easily. This has been proved by many, many scientific studies that I've read, is that a woman essentially will get a bottle of wine and a friend after a breakup in a weekend, and sad movies, sad songs, and she'll look much worse than the man for a few days. She will be like distraught, crying, scratching herself, whatever the fuck it is. She will be totally look terrible. But what she's doing is she's like, she goes in easily. Imagine like you're looking at a scuba diver from afar. She goes down not so deep in a relationship, but she goes down fast. And then when she comes up, she pops up fast. Now to a woman, it feels very painful, because it is painful for her, But the thing is, you can't compare how you feel to somebody else. So women don't realize that men are very different. Men don't go down so easy. They don't fall into love. They don't fall into being open. They don't fall into being vulnerable and that kind of trust, that deep, deep bonding level, human bond, single bond. That is not easy. Men do not do it easily. because when they do, they go much deeper. And then because of that, that deeper bond, okay, because that deeper bond, again, that's why men can have so many lovers, because they don't go so deep with most of them. So this is one of the problems when I talk about post-breakup. Some of you guys with a lot of experience with women are going to say, well, what the fuck, that's not me. I could never do that. See, I was with hundreds of women. It doesn't matter, because no matter how many women you're with, and generally, by the way, the kind of guys who have a lot of women tend to be more sensitive guys. I know that's going to sound weird, but it's true. The kind of guys who feel love, they're the ones who the women, like, they end up running through a lot of fucking chicks, you know. And in some ways, they're dangerous for girls because they seem so open, but it's because of their natural, like, artistic personality. Like, women love that, and they just flock to it. But the guys are not actually falling in love with them, right? It's just this, they're just not even really almost remember them. It's like not deep at all. But then there's that one woman who's your kryptonite. And so this is what's very difficult for a player to accept, like myself. As a traditional player in my life, I was like, especially, you know, like I said, not now, but when I was younger, very much a player. And that one woman who is my kryptonite never made any fucking sense. Not logically made no sense. Even the people that knew me, like, they were like, what the fuck, man? Ronin is losing his fucking mind. It happened about every decade for me. So I had Judy, right? I lost my mind over her. What was the next one? The next one was Jessie. Yep, the next one was Jessie, Chinese girl. And then the last one where I got to that level of depth was with my baby, my child. And with the breakup and the feeling. It wasn't the same exact emotions, but it was one of these almost once in a lifetime type of washing machines, okay? Because it was to do with kind of a future and raising a child and having a child. I wanted to raise a child. I love kids, by the way. I fucking love kids. You know, I always have. I have always bonded with kids. I'm like a big kid myself. Like, I'm always, you know, I'm much more happy being like running around on all fours under the table, hiding under blankets, than I am sitting in a boring conversation, looking at each other and trying to brag about which school you went to, you know, which is what a lot of adults do all day, you know, basically, you know, brag about how great they are, you know. I fucking hate that. I much prefer the playful, the shit the kids are doing. Like, generally, I have much more fun living my life that way. And in fact, I've accepted this about myself. And I have a very playful life. It's the way my fucking life is. And I realized that's what I like, you know. My life is playful. I was fucking messing around the whole time last weekend at Pattaya. Like, I was fucking with my friend. My good friend from Shanghai came in. And man, we were just like two kids, man. I hadn't seen him in years. He was fucked in a divorce. I mean, fucked worse than you've ever heard. I mean, you will not believe how fucked this guy was. Oh my God. I might still do an episode with him. But anyway, oh my God. So he was coming here to save his life, really. And we hung out. But at the same time, we were just like fucking kids, man. We were just like playing with garbage on the beach. We're like, oh man, we were laughing our asses off, climbing mountains, you know, fucking with each other, teasing each other. We three of us got a hotel room, which was very cheap, by the way, and also a very good idea, which I think a Pattaya summit at some point is a very good idea, by the way. Not Bangkok, but Pattaya. It's like 2 hours out of Bangkok, $5 bus ride. So anyway, but we're just kids, and I'm a kid. I'm a fucking kid, man. Like, I get in deep with emotions. I get in deep with myself and friendships. I allow myself to feel these things. I allow myself to get over these things. I am part of life, man. I am in the fucking stream of life, you know, and that is the way I am. And that's the way I'll always be, you know, unless I have some kind of traumatic brain injury or something, which could happen, right? You know, never know. Yeah, roadside bomb, shit goes on. People fall down, you know, whatever. Something changes, you know. I don't see it changing, but I mean, that's my personality. I like that, you know. And I don't understand boring people that ignore themselves. I don't understand that. It's like a very lame way to live. I just like fucking sad to me. But anyways, that's what some people choose. It's the way they want to live, you know. You know, to me, it's very fake and very, very fragile and very sad. You know, I don't really get it. You know, part of the whole unblackmailable thing is that the reason why you don't want to be blackmailed, okay, the reason why you don't want to be able to be controlled by anybody is because they will control you to do things you don't want to do. They will control you. You lose control of the ability to steer your life in the direction as you go, and all the subtleties that go with that, and all the mistakes that you're going to make and everything. But that ability to search for your own happiness in life. When you're controlled, you're unable to do that. You're temporarily being controlled by the outside. You've got that dog collar on. You've got that invisible fence. And that's what you want to get rid of, as many of those invisible fences as possible. Not so you can go crazy, okay, but so that you can have the steering wheel of your own boat. That's why. It's just a very simple thing. It's a very light touch on the boat too. It's like steering in the direction that you want yourself to go right now, And sometimes you go the wrong way and you have to turn around, right? But that is the ultimate freedom, is the ability to steer your own boat in life and to make your own mistakes and to learn, right? That is the absolute reason why you don't want to be controlled by a woman. It's not that women are evil. It's not that society's evil. It's that subtle pull on the rudder. Okay, when let's say you're in a calm river, it's just very slow moving, or in the ocean, you turn the rudder and you feel that your boat like slowly starts to like go one way, and it's like that ability to, let's imagine you're going like let's say half of walking speed in a rowboat on a very calm lake, right? Or let's say a very, very slow moving body of water, like a canal, just barely moving, right? You can't even, almost imperceptible movement. But as you move, you just turn the rudder. Sometimes it takes some time for the boat to respond because there's not much friction, right? And then slowly the boat starts to go the direction you want, right? That's what you want with your life. You want that control, that ability to move with how you sense things, that you should be trying things, you should be going in a direction. It's that in touch. To really have a good life, you need to slow down and listen. And you have to be down in that mode. Because things that you're going to want to do and avoid, they're often not screaming at you. They're very subtle. They're very, very subtle. And you have to be in that state where you're relaxed enough and where you're not angry, where you're not, you're not reactive. And then you can actually feel, and you say, oh, you know what? I can feel the water's moving this way. I want to go over there. That is right there. That's ultimate freedom right there. It's not like people think. People think, oh, you want control, man. You want fucking do what you want. What do you want, right? Finding out what you want. That is a very interesting game just in itself. And then how do you get to where you want, right? It's not simple. It's not ABC 1, 2, 3, boom, 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 3-minute video, done. You have a life purpose, right? No, man, it's being in touch, right? It's being in touch, right? So this guy was being controlled. And finally I said to him, look, Andrew, here's the fucking deal. I said, because I could see he was towards the end of it. 2 years of thinking about this woman, her controlling his life, and he needed to get snapped out of it. That he was different than the other guy. I was like, dude, do you realize is that you are being controlled by a woman, okay, for now 2 years after the breakup? I said, when you were with her, you're a very manly guy. You're a fucking sheep shearer. He was raised in a sheep farm. His parents own a sheep farm. He can ride horses. He can do shit, this guy. He can fix shit. He can carry shit. He's the kind of guy you want in a fucking war, okay? When you're going forward in the jungle, right? He's the kind of guy, like, this is the perfect kind of guy to have with you, right? And good friend too. But he was being controlled, right? And I said, man, first thing, just think about this. I was trying to think of things that would snap him out of it. And I think I did, actually. I said, look, a woman, she respected you when you were with her. She fucking respected you. But, okay, after you broke up and you kept chasing her, she lost respect. Every day, she loses more respect for you. Now, she doesn't even have enough respect to fly over and fuck your brains out. She thinks of you as a piece of shit, as a stupid guy, as being controlled, as weak. She thinks I made a mistake with this guy. I thought he was strong, but actually he's weak. But at least I can use him for something. I can use him for errands. I can use him as a douchebag to unload my feelings on. I can make him feel sad if I want. Yeah, I can show him pictures of me with another guy. I can put him on Instagram. I can use him as a punching bag, as a pin, as like a voodoo doll, right? And that's the state that he was finally reduced to. Okay, now again, life is complex. On other aspects, the guy's life is great. He's doing a great job with his life in many ways. But it's about rooting this shit out and getting it over it forever, right? This is what it's about. And he was, regardless, everything I'm saying was absolutely 100% true. And I said, look, because he, in his mind, the reason why he was still thinking about this girl, the reason why is because in his mind, she still thought of him as the same way. This tough guy, sheep shearing, farming, fucking outback type dude, right? But actually, no. She thinks of him as a weak man now, as a weak, controlled, destroyed man. And she sees him as almost like, have you ever read a book or heard about, I read a very, very, very interesting article one time about this guy answered, he was a reporter. He answered an ad in Tokyo. And it was a woman that was looking, it was like in the personal section. She was looking for slaves. And so he went to this bar, right? So obviously her friend owned it. It was a small bar. And when he got there, it was a great article, actually. It was really well written. And it was like very descriptive. He got there and there was this woman and she had a very short skirt. She was very hot. And she had all these men on dog leashes, all on their hands and knees, like doing exactly everything she wanted, right? Just basically like all these men. And I assume she gave him sex. But anyway, she had them all on hands and knees. And she had them like publicly in this bar on the leashes. And the guys were all her slaves. And so the guy came in and she said, no. She said, sit here. And so basically, she was going to fuck his brains out. She was going to give him something. She told him. She was straight up. And then you're going to be one of these dogs, right? You're going to be one of my slaves. And the guy, it was really interesting. The guy was introspective, the reporter. I thought it was very interesting the way he described it because he said for him, it was one of the hardest things in his life leaving that bar because he started as a joke. He was doing it to write an article. But when he got in there is when there was something in him that wanted to be her slave. I thought that was very interesting because very few guys can admit this type of stuff, but this is how you change. This is how you become the master of your own destiny. It's by accepting and admitting and realizing who you are, right? That's how you can protect yourself. As ugly as it might be at times, is that honesty is what actually will save you long term. Short term doesn't look good. Like on, talking with the boys at the fucking water cooler doesn't look good. But in the end, you're stronger when you know who you are, when you accept who you are, and your darkness and your dark side, which your dark side can be actually good. It's just something you were trained to think was embarrassing, right? It could be actually your good traits, right? Your ability to speak. If you were in a family that was like the nail that stands up gets hammered down. So your dark side could be hiding your ability to lead and to speak. So dark side doesn't mean negative things. So it's something that you don't acknowledge, right? It very, very well could be, and often is, your greatest strengths. Yeah. So this is where you need to be. You need to be in that honest state. And so wherever you are, if you are still being controlled by a woman years later, if you are, and this is what I asked the young guy who is breaking up with his first love. I said, look, what are you doing in real life every day? Are you looking at her Facebook? Are you looking at her Instagram? Are you calling her? Are you mailing her? Because, see, guys don't want to tell the truth. They'll say, oh, I'm having a hard time getting over my ex. And they don't say that they fucking talk to her every fucking day. It's like, dude, how can you get over something if you talk to this girl every day? Like, at least you have to be honest about it. Like, God damn it. Like, fuck, wake the fuck up. Like, tell the truth. Tell the truth. If you want to get over something, if you want to change your life, you got to start with the brutal fucking truth, the ugly truth about why this is so difficult and what you're doing to cause it. You need to go there. You absolutely need to go there. And if you don't want to piss everybody off, because I'll tell you something, somebody like me who likes to help people, one way to really drive me away and really piss me off is to not tell me the story. And then you tell me what your problem is, and I help you fix it, but it actually wasn't your real problem, and you're not being honest. And then later I find out that was not the problem at all. It was something totally different. Now, I understand sometimes you can't face things, so I'm not saying it's black and white, but there's a limit. If you're asking for fucking help from people, you need to know who you are first. You need to get down and dirty and be able to face the shit that you are doing. Because your feelings, it's okay. You are going to be a complex human being, and you have complex feelings, and your life is complex. So the fact that you call her every day and email her every day, or your mom, or whatever the fuck it is, right? It is often a sign of something. It can be very embarrassing, especially in a group like a men's group, right? You're like, fuck, I don't want to. I admit this because not every man that you're going to talk to in your group or whatever is going to be on that level of honesty. And there will be people who will totally make fun of you. They'll say, you fucking idiot, you shouldn't call, you fucking moron. And then meanwhile, that guy called his girlfriend, right? He had the same problem. He just doesn't have the same level of self-honesty. So you got to be ready for that. You're going to get fucking scalped by some guys. They might even make fun of you. They might even tell other people, right? You have to be ready for that. That's part of the process of change, is realizing that when you do open up, you open yourself up to other people hurting you. And that's the fucking reality. And that's the only way out. That's the bad news, is there's no other way. You have to get honest, right? And you're going to have to talk to somebody. You're going to have to trust somebody. And they might fuck you over. And if you can handle that, you're ready for life, because that is life right there. That is not just breakups. That's like life in general. So this is one thing I love about the guys that listen to Ronin, man, is I feel that. I really, really feel that with you guys. And it's like an amazing thing. And I see that whenever we have any kind of get-togethers, interviews, I can see people willing to really change. And the ugly process that is. The non-alpha fucking quote-unquote alpha. But you know what? Like I said, in the end, you become a survivor. And essentially, you become an alpha guy in the end. You do. You become stronger and stronger and stronger, okay? Let's put it that way. Not weaker and faker and more fragile. You become more robust. Okay, why is the internet still working? Is it because it's so well planned? It's the worst plan you could ever imagine. The reason why the internet has never gone down is because of all the random connections of servers. Just the random fucking connections. In the end, that random strength becomes the strength of robust. There was a word for it. It's something that's difficult to kill because there is no plan. It's just like a lot of connections, similar to a human brain, a lot of neurons, right? A lot of connections. Those things end up being the strongest. And I actually learned this, I just on a side note here, but it's quite interesting. When I was a college professor back in the mid 90s, right? It was the first day of school, and I was teaching at an all girls junior college, and it was great, by the way. Oh, so good. Anyway, so I said to the girls, I didn't know what to do, but we needed to do something where everybody kind of get to know each other, and like first day of school. And so I said, look, I bought a bunch of eggs. And I said, it wasn't even a design school or anything, but I just said, look, I bought a bunch of tape and eggs, and I said, look, paper. I said, okay, I want you girls get into groups. Yeah, pick your friends, pick your groups. And if not, I'll pick a group. And then I want you to take the tape and the paper and then try to protect the egg as best as possible. So whatever design you want this design, you want that design. And, then work it out. By the end of class, we're going to go outside. We're going to drop it off. It was like basically 3 stories. We're going to drop it off the window and see which ones survive. I didn't even know if anything was going to survive. But what was very, very interesting about it, very, very interesting, is the same thing happened in every class. Is some of the girls were actually quite good at engineering. And they had very complex designs. And they looked good on paper. A lot of the more complex designs, they looked great. and it was like, I was amazed. I was actually quite surprised by just the creativity of people, There was like a lot of different designs. And some of them were quite interesting, right? I was like, wow, I never thought of that. Anyway, so we tried them all. And the one design that always worked was the girls who just simply crumpled up paper randomly. And they just put a bunch of crumpled up paper around the egg and just a big, ugly fucking circle. It was like they got the tape and they crumpled up a bunch of paper. They taped it around the egg, and then they put more crumpled up paper on top, and they just kept taping more and more paper. Just like random fucking crumpled up ugly paper and ugly tape going around like a homeless guy's fucking house, And then we threw it off. Those are the ones that always survived. It's because the randomness of all those creases and folds together was better than a planned out, perfectly executed design. And that was very interesting. I was really shocked by that. And it was true. And I even went up a couple floors above, and a lot of those eggs survived even like 4 or 5 floors. They were really well, But of course, you had to ruin the design to see if the egg was broken, because they had to cut through everything. There was no way to see the egg. But anyway, it was quite interesting. So I think life is like that. I think the internet was like that. It wasn't well planned, but it worked out. It worked out to be a very strong design in retrospect. Just the random, universities connecting, military, DIY guys, companies, new startups. We started like doing this. The government put a lot of the basic infrastructure of the internet in, and other companies added stuff. We had a .com bubble where they laid a lot of fiber optic and added a lot of new technologies, and just together it made a very robust system. Because in the beginning, the big thing was everybody thought the internet was going to go down, but that's died down now because it just turned out to be quite robust. It's very robust. Parts can go down, but the whole thing survives. So this is the type. It's not beautiful, but it is very beautiful in the end, and it works beautifully. And I think I'm going to end on this. I think that's how life is. I think a lot of life is not about the perfect plan, but it's more about the stuff the subtle ideas and mindsets that I talked about in this episode, and the willingness to look bad, right? The willingness to be honest, and the willingness to keep looking for answers, right? So if you're going through a breakup, or your friend is going through a breakup, resist the urge to get angry and tell them this or that, because sometimes it is frustrating. Because for me, I, in general, have not had a difficult time with breakups. They've been very, but the ones, the kryptonite, that's the problem. And my friends in Shanghai can always remind me of the kryptonite of Jessie. Oh my God, that girl. She fucking killed me, dude. I was destroyed by her, man. I fucking, and there's nothing embarrassing about it. It's just the way your mind is. It's the way your natural desire to bond is as a human. So whether you call yourself MGTOW, you call yourself PUA, you call yourself incel, you call yourself whatever, you still have that bonding mechanism. The ugly reality of your own body and life, which is actually a beautiful reality, but the ugly, inconvenient reality, I should say, is still there, right? It's still there, and you're still subject to the laws of nature, laws of the universe, the laws of physics, laws of your own mind. All right, guys, hope that's been useful. And I hope that made you feel better if you're going through a hard time, or if you went through a hard time. If you're thinking back to when you went through a hard time, maybe you're 70 years old and you're thinking, damn, because sometimes there's a lot of healing. Let's say you're 70, right? 70 years old. And you're thinking back to when you were 18, when you broke up with a girl. Sometimes there's a lot of healing in actually just understanding what happened back then. It's like you realize, oh man, there was kind of some unhealed shit in there, Like, God, that's kind of nice to actually understand myself, and understand my life. And then, obviously it helps you with helping other guys. If you have any sons or friends or nephews or whatever, you can understand more what they're going through. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening, and hope you guys have